Colombia for a failed attempt on his life. Nicolas Maduro says he has, quote, enough proof to link the government of Colombia to the weekend drone attack. It happened during a military parade in Caracas. Venezuelan officials say several National Guard members were hurt when the drones detonated. 6 people are under arrest. The outgoing Colombian president denied involvement and said he was more focused on baptizing his daughter before leaving office. My next guest is a former director of counterterrorism at the CIA. Bernard Hudson says this type of attack is tantamount to terrorism by joystick. He joins me live from our Washington bureau. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Venezuela, its government says consumer drones were used in this apparent assassination attempt. And before we get into the general threat posed by consumer drones, I want to get your thoughts on what Venezuela is saying. Were consumer drones used to attack Nicolas Maduro?
Certainly all the information that's available to the public would indicate that there were commercial drones used to try to kill him in that parade he was watching the other day.
Gotcha. And so was that a proof of concept that a consumer drone can, yes, be capable of carrying a payload like bricks of C4 explosive to assassinate someone in a public place?
Unfortunately, the technology does exist to allow a product, commercial drones that otherwise do a lot of great things for the economy and relief operations. You can use them as sort of a suicide bomber in a box. You can weaponize these devices and you can send them against targets. That's completely technically possible now.
You're saying it's technically possible, this risk is real, so what is needed to mitigate that risk?
The biggest problem with detecting commercial drones is if you don't see it, you can't stop it. Drones are small, they tend to fly quite low. The air traffic management system in the United States, Europe, Asia is not really designed to find things that are flying so low. In cities especially, where you have a lot of crowded airspace, tall buildings, a lot of electromagnetic signals that can really jam up detection. So the biggest thing that's got to be done is find a way to detect these things so that you can bring in other technologies to stop them.
There are counter-drone systems out there like jammers. Could those be effective in dealing with this threat?
So unfortunately, the commercial drone world itself is a immature and a new industry. Within that industry, the counter-drone piece of it is exceptionally immature. There's a lot of probably oversold and overpromised, overhyped technologies that are out there. At the time, there's probably the only way to kind of stop these drones with the technology available is what I would call a layered approach, where you bring in different things. You bring up an excellent point about jamming. The problem with jamming is that once you turn a jammer on, you can't necessarily discriminate against the things you're turning off. And in a city, there could be a lot of other things that you knock offline.
Yeah, like law enforcement or commercial aircraft even. So as of today, how prepared is the U.S. government, let alone other governments around the world, to deal with the threat posed by the malicious use of consumer drones?
So, the world security forces are always on the lookout for, bad actors who want to misuse technology. The creation of commercial drones and their misuse by these folks didn't create more terrorists. So I think, the kind of commitment across the world to find these people is pretty impressive. What is lacking right now is the technological ability to kind of detect these things that are flying around before they harm somebody. Commercial industry is working on that. The role of the U.S. government and foreign governments will be to sort of test that technology as the commercial world creates it, and then pick which ones work the best, and then put them into the air traffic management system.
Bernard Hudson, we thank you for laying out the threat for us. Bernard Hudson joining us live from Washington, D.C. Take care.